feel like Gordon Bombay would have taken his career to even further heights.
Everything's flashy, everything's cocaine, everything's fun.
Open wide for some soccer!
I don't care what your personal thoughts are at home. I care that you hate the Cowboys.
Call this college rule!
Welcome, everybody, to the Sports Experience Podcast. I'm Chris. This is Dom. We're here at the end of our block of, I was about to say NFL, but technically it's football playoffs.
That's true.
And we're talking about what I think is one of your favorite games.
I mean, I've watched it.
I know, but historically, I was just going to say not games in which you were alive. How about that?
Yes, not games in which I'm alive, but, you know, growing up as a kid when they weren't so good, I was like, man, I wish they were that good now.
You remember that?
Remember?
Yeah. Talking about Super Bowl XIII, where we have the Steelers versus the old Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys, January 21st, 1979 at the Orange Bowl in Miami, Florida, and it was the first Super Bowl rematch we've ever had in the NFL history.
Both of them were trying to go for three. First time for a team to win 3 Super Bowls.
Definitely a clash of cultures, but littered with Hall of Famers, and hell of a game.
Yeah.
Hell of a game.
I did read that they were surprised that it was going to be in Florida because they were like, that stadium is falling apart.
Oh, yeah. No, they had just switched to grass, I think, for this game because they had played, we'll get into it, but they had played them in the other Super Bowl in Miami, Florida. So we'll start with the Cowboys because they're the defending champs.
Yep.
They had won Super Bowl XII over the Orange Crush there in 1977. Had won previously in 71 as well. And this is when they started calling themselves America's team. A lot of people didn't like that.
Outside of Texas, I would imagine. But it is a great marketing tool.
Oh, absolutely.
For their fans to be like, we are America's team. And then for the opposite fans to be like, no, screw you guys. Because it really is a dividing factor. We're like, how are they America's team?
Oh, I'm sorry. Are we living in Give Up America? Are we living in Give Up America? Gonna rise up, gonna kick a little ass, gonna climb a mountain, baby, U.S. Rock, flag, and eagle.
I love later in that when Matt goes, rock, flag, and eagle, right, Charlie? And he just goes, yeah. Like, you are right with rock, flag, and eagle.
That was pretty much the NFL Films version of it. So who's their quarterback? Effing Captain America, Roger Staubach.
Staubach. This is actually 2 really historically great quarterbacks.
Oh,
I was thinking of that where, like, you get some of those games where you're like, oh, this is just like...
Who is Tony Eason? I don't even know. And they got that guy with a neck roll, Steve Grogan, after him. No, this is like I said before about all the Hall of Famers, this is like iconic.
Yes.
This is iconic. So Dallas this year, they go 12-4 and they reel off 6 straight wins. But back to the team, Staubach made the Pro Bowl with 25 touchdown passes and almost 3,200 passing yards. Tony Dorsett, this is an interesting story, from Pittsburgh. Like, Mr. Pittsburgh.
I didn't know that.
Won a national title, won the Heisman Trophy. I don't know how fixed it was, but Dallas traded up, I think, with Seattle in the 77 draft. To pick him up and be, well, the Hall of Famer that he eventually turned into.
Yep.
Over 1,300 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns. Robert Newhouse and Scott Laidlaw combined for almost 900 rushing yards that year, too. So they were a run-first team like most teams in this era. You have future Hall of Famer Drew Pearson and Pro Bowler that year Tony Hill as your receivers, almost 1,600 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns. Billy Joe Dupree was a Pro Bowler at tight end with 9 touchdown catches. And Preston Pearson, a former Steeler and a running back, he was like the first third down back.
Oh, yeah.
They used him a lot in the passing game. He actually led them in receptions that year. And do you know who else was on this team?
Who's
as
that?
A receiver? Golden Richards was a Dallas Cowboy. I knew him briefly. Stout O-line as always. Pat Donovan, John Fitzgerald, Tom Rafferty, Rayfield Wright. They were the #1 scoring offense in the entire league. And defense was just as good.
Yep.
Doomsday defense. You have Randy White, the Manster, leading Tom Landry's invented flex defense. 16 sacks. Sweet Jethro Pugh was on the defensive line. Harvey Martin, who was co-MVP with White in Super Bowl XII, had 14.5 sacks. And we got Ed Too Tall Jones also up there.
And their defense, I think, let the least amount of points, or it was like them and the Steelers.
Yeah.
Because there a lot of was put on their offense being really good, but they really had a great defense too.
Oh, yeah. They just kind of got outshone in this era by another particular unit. I did want to add, though, leading up to this game, they had a huge scare in the divisional round this year against Atlanta.
Oh.
Where they were losing at halftime and Staubach was hurt. They had to bring in Danny White, their backup quarterback and punter, and he eventually led them to a 27-20 win. In the NFC title game, though, they just blanked the Rams.
Yeah.
28-0. Capped off by a 68-yard pick six by Thomas Hollywood Henderson.
That's one of my favorite names from this.
We need to do an episode on him because he was LT before LT. I think it was snowing a lot in Texas Stadium.
Oh, man.
Apparently, he played in this game drinking liquid cocaine.
That's beautiful.
So-
I'll tell you what's crazy is professional football player, professional skier.
Professionals, that's true.
I bet you didn't know that about Hollywood.
I didn't know Bo knew skiing either. Oh,
Bo knows skiing.
Bo doesn't know skiing. Bo just doesn't know how to get a hip replacement. But leading into their opponent, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're coming off a kind of transitional 77 because they had won in Super Bowl in 74. They won in 75 against Dallas at the Orange Bowl. And then in 76, some argue that that was their best team ever. I think in their last 9 games, because Bradshaw got hurt, they had started a backup. They pitched 5 shutouts. They were down, though, to their 4th-string running back and lost in the AFC title game. But 77 was a transition because you had a lot of older players retiring. But they drafted so well that 78 they're a top 10 NFL all-time team in 78. They went 14-2. Terry Bradshaw led the league in touchdown passes at over 2,900 passing yards, just throwing piss missiles. Because, and we'll talk about their defense, why he's doing this. He won the league MVP. He won the league MVP that year. Their ground game was stout. Franco Harris, another over 1,000-yard season, Pro Bowl season. Rocky Bleier, the fullback, had over 600 yards rushing. And then this is where they were different from those first 2 Super Bowl teams, is because the Mel Blount rule was instituted by Don Shula and the competition committee.
Oh, yeah.
Because before, you could basically just murder a wide receiver.
Yeah,
Anywhere on the field you wanted to. But with the 5-yard chuck rule, everyone was saying, well, now the Steelers aren't going to hurt us anymore. They forgot they have 2 Hall of Fame wide receivers. It was like that scene in, Robin Hood Men in Tights, where he's like, fire an arrow straight at my eye. All right. Goodbye. So.
No, I didn't say Abe Lincoln. I said, hey, Blinken.
A Jew?
There's so many good jokes in that. It's
Mel Brooks. Oh, so good. But you essentially unlocked Lynn Swann and John Stallworth.
Yep.
Swann made the Pro Bowl, 11 touchdowns. Stallworth had almost 800 yards and another 9. And Benny Cunningham was a pretty good tight end, but he ended up getting shelved for Randy Grossman because he got hurt halfway through the season. The O-line, what more can I say besides all of them were like the Maniac in that episode of Sunny. Lots of steroids.
Oh, I thought you meant chestnuts. They were foraging for chestnuts.
They also had that, and they also said, no, I know they didn't.
No, but you're right, where they were maybe bigger for the time than they should have been, if you will.
I mean, you had Hall of Famer Mike Webster anchoring up front. That dude's forearms. Oh, my God. He didn't get those from whacking in a tool shed. But their defense was dominant as usual. The front 4 is still there. The steel curtain. You're minus Ernie Holmes, but you got Mean Joe Green, L.C. Greenwood, and then Gary Dunn and John Banaszak filling in there with Dwight White. Linebackers, Hall of Famers, Jack Ham, Jack Lambert, Pro Bowls, first team All-Pro. Mel Blount, the rules didn't apply. He still made the Pro Bowl. 4 interceptions. And then you got future Hall of Famer Donnie Shell back there at safety. And you know who else was a backup defensive back on this team? Tony Dungy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
He's a little bit
I didn't
involved
know
in
that.
this game.
That's cool. And then this is the thing leading into this game is it really is Pittsburgh defense against Dallas's offense is what it's been like. Like that's like the preview of it. But then you're like, no, Pittsburgh has a great offense, and Dallas actually has a great defense. These are just really good teams.
These are great teams. Did you see any of the controversy going into this game?
Are we talking about Hollywood talking shit? Or
Oh yeah, we're talking about Hollywood.
I didn't know exactly what you meant, but yes, I did see because Hollywood's out there skiing. So he's on the slopes and they
slaloming it up with his nostrils.
and they not ask him, but I feel like he kind of like puts it out there. He's like, Bradshaw's an idiot.
Yeah,
because that's what he was saying, right?
Well, so one of the things people used to make fun of Terry Bradshaw for was not being smart, despite the fact that he called all of his own plays.
I know. I saw that too, where I'm like, what are you guys talking about? I get it, because once a joke starts, you're like, no, we have to hammer this home.
But he said, according to to a publication, he said Terry Bradshaw is so dumb he couldn't spell cat if you spotted him the C and the A.
And the A.
Which I don't know if that's a guy you want to talk shit to playing football, because he might hurt you. He had the capability to kind of do that too.
Well, he was a bigger quarterback for that time, and I don't understand it outside of the fact that somebody makes a joke and you're like, we're running with that.
Yes.
I don't care if he's stupid or not. We are running with that.
Thomas, what's in the bottle? So anyway, we get into Super Bowl XIII.
That would have been such a great response.
Yeah. Oh, God. It's my talent juice. It allows me to dance the night away like nose clamps.
No. Look up. Look up.
We went back to bingo. So Dallas starts off the game with the ball, and they're carving up the steel curtain pretty good, surprisingly, with the run.
Dorsett is actually, like, it is surprising, but they are going really hard at the Steelers, and you're like, oh, this could be a problem. And then they're like, you know what we should do on the first drive? A trick play.
Which is not smart.
It's not.
Because you're effectively running the ball. There's not going to be any shock. They go from their own 28 to the Pittsburgh 34. All of the yards were gained by Dorsett on the ground.
Yep.
So it's 2nd and 10, and they try this reverse pass where the exchange between Drew Pearson and Dorsett just doesn't happen.
And Pearson said, he was like, we practiced that play for 3 weeks, and we practiced it all the time, never had a mistake with it. And then he was saying, he was like, the handoff, we just weren't on the same page.
Yeah.
He was like, I should have gotten it, and I didn't, and it cost him.
John Banaszak recovers the fumble, and the thing is if you watch the development of the play, almost like that halfback pass from Amici in 58, Billy Joe Dupree was wide open.
Yes, because that was the intended target after they did this little handoff from Dorsett, and it just went bad.
So Pittsburgh gets the ball, and they're faced with a big 3rd and 9 after Harris is only able to get 1 yard on 2 plays, and there's a huge 12-yard pass to Stallworth to keep the sticks moving.
Yep.
Another 3rd and 8 happens, and Randy Grossman, who Henderson was also talking shit about, gets him 10 yards to move the sticks. And then at the Dallas 28, this is why I say throwing fucking piss missiles. This pass to Stallworth was amazing in the corner of the end zone. And Stallworth to basically like contort his body to come back. It's like back shoulder before back shoulder was a thing almost.
Yep.
He just lofts this perfect like pass, and Stallworth catches it in the end zone with an acrobatic play, and they're up 7-0 with just over 10 minutes in the first quarter. And you're thinking, game on now.
Yep.
Like, game on. Dallas starts their next drive from their own 28. There's a huge 26-yard pass to Butch Johnson, but both Steve Furness and along with White and Green have sacks to kill the drive. I don't know what compelled them to run that reverse pass.
I don't know.
That just...
It really is just bad play calling early in a game where you're like, even if because if it worked, I get it, but you're just like, we already have Dorsett and this is working.
Yeah.
Why stop something that's working to do something that's like a trick play is so not what to do right in the first possession.
100%. The Steelers were looking like they were going to capitalize. There was a 22-yard pass to Harris, and then a 13-yard catch by Swan on 3rd and 5 gets him to the Dallas 30. But Bradshaw got picked by D.D. Lewis on a really good play. Dallas ends up going 3 and out, and then Pittsburgh has their drive killed by a holding penalty and a sack fumble, which Ed Too Tall Jones recovered. So Dallas has the ball at the Pittsburgh 41, and there's a huge 39-yard. There's a 2-yard run by Newhouse to start. But then Dallas takes advantage. A great 39-yard catch and run by Tony Hill. And if you watch this play, Mel Blount's not even looking at him. He's literally running behind him. Drew Pearson's almost deking him out of the play until he actually crosses the goal line.
Yep.
It was a really, that's definitely makes up for the fumble. I mean, that's a high football IQ type of play. So it's 7-7, and the first quarter ends. The Steelers get 2 first downs to start the second quarter, and they're at 3rd and 10 on their own 48. And the turnover bug bites them in the ass again.
Well, I was thinking about this watching it because Old Hollywood gets exactly what he wants. Bradshaw fumbles, and he recovers it.
Wait, was the ball filled with something?
Well, can you even imagine being... You're on the slopes, okay? You got all your boys.
You got your goggles on. You got your Joker hat on.
You're talking shit. You look at Bradshaw and said, should have pizzaed. And he French fried.
Your name is Thumper? Gonna have a bad time, Terry Bradshaw.
So Henderson takes it back for a 37-yard touchdown. So because he gets the fumble.
Henderson basically holds him up.
Yes.
And Mike Hegman, their other
that's what it
linebacker,
was.
steals it. He just takes it away.
Yes.
Because Henderson has his arms pinned down like this.
Yes.
And he just takes it away and runs it in for a touchdown to make it 14-7. And you're like, hey, Terry, you got some shit on your face. That's my face, sir.
That's my
under your nose. That's my face, sir. But you know what? Champions don't die, Chris.
That's true.
3rd and 5 at their own 25 on the ensuing drive. Steelers need a big play, and my God, does John Stallworth give it to him. He basically runs this out route, which is past the sticks, catches the ball, and you're thinking, that's a hell of a way to pick up a first down. But he doesn't stop, Chris.
Well,
he doesn't stop at all.
I'll tell you what's great about this is obviously the run after the catch, but he waits for a second for blockers to come up and literally clear it for a touchdown. He's just like, now that is some great post-catch running.
Oh, absolutely. He breaks one tackle. Nobody touches him the rest of the way. 75 yards. It's utterly insane. So we have a tie game with 10:25 left to go in the second quarter, and you're like, oh, hell yes. And this is when Pittsburgh's D starts picking it up. Dallas starts at their own 31, and they lost yards on all 3 plays. Pittsburgh almost got a sack strip, but Rafferty ends up recovering it on 3rd down.
Yep.
Now we get to a point where Pittsburgh special teams, as far as their kicking game, is dog shit. And it really costs them on this next drive. They start with the ball at the Dallas 48. There's a huge 26-yard catch and run by Swan, but Harris is stopped with an 8-yard loss. They're at the Dallas 25, and an incompletion and a Hegman sack pushes them all the way back to attempt a 51-yard field goal,
which is
5:19 in the fourth quarter.
We've talked about it before. That's so long for this era of football.
So they send Roy Jarella out, who in Super Bowl X, I don't know if you ever saw that clip, because he wasn't a great kicker. He missed a field goal in that game, and Cliff Harris went up trying to razz him. Jack Lambert threw Cliff Harris just to the ground to be like, we're not doing that anymore. We're not doing that. So Dallas has some pretty good field position at their own 34.
This is like with 2 minutes left in the half. Yeah.
Preston Pearson has a huge 7-yard catch to pick up a first down. Hill has another 10-yard catch. Then Dorsett has another 12-yard catch. And with 152 in the second quarter from the Pittsburgh 32, Staubach makes really the only mistake in the game. He's picked off by Mel Blount, who returns it to Pittsburgh's 44, which you're thinking, there's still time left on the clock. Let's get something out of this.
Because it is one of those big turnaround plays where it's 14-14. Dallas is driving down, and then you're right. Staubach makes, I think, his only mistake of this game, and it really bites them in the ass.
So they start 1st and 20 because of an illegal use of hands on Jerry Mullins. Lynn Swann, he was the MVP in Super Bowl X. He caught 4 balls for, I think, 161 yards and 2 tutties. All those NFL films, highlights of him that you see are from that game.
That game, yes.
That game. So, like, the Dallas fan, because apparently in the 74 draft when they took him, the next pick after the Steelers was Dallas.
Oh.
And they wanted him.
him.
So I can just imagine a young Hank Hill going, God, I hate that Lynn Swann. He has a 29-yard pass, catch and run on a screen, and with 1:10 to go from 37, has a 21-yard acrobatic catch to really get them in scoring position.
Mm-hmm.
They end up getting to 3rd and 1 at the Dallas 7 with 26 seconds left, and Bradshaw does not find Swann or Stallworth or Grossman or Harris. He goes to Rocky Bleier on this who not the most athletic of all players, but
in single coverage and was open essentially.
Yeah,
that's what I think it more was. It was like, dude, they're not really covering you.
You're like the 4th guy on this pattern. Do you got it?
Yep.
But he made a great catch.
Yeah.
He made a hell of a catch in front of a defender with 20 seconds left to put him up 21 to. This is how teams win games.
Yeah.
You score it in the final 2 to 1 minute of a half. That's how you win a football game, and they're up 21 to 14. Dallas can't score, and you're like, this is a great Super Bowl.
Yeah.
This is a great Super Bowl. So we start the third quarter, and the Steelers go 3 and out.
I was going to say, this is when they start trading possessions, and you really see how good their defenses are.
Mm-hmm. Dallas stuffed on their next drive on a 3rd and 2 with Laidlaw, so they have to punt. We get to 9:15 in the third quarter. A huge false start by John Kolb cost them big, so they send Craig Colquitt out to punt. And now we launch the drive most people remember from this game with Dallas, because they're trying to tie them up. They're trying to tie it up. 7:31 to go. They're at the Pittsburgh 42. 3rd and 6, they get a great 8-yard pass to Pearson to essentially move the sticks and get something going. Now they're just alternating Dorsett and Laidlaw and Dorsett on runs. Basically what they should have been doing the entire first half.
Yes.
Because when you look back at the stat sheet, you're like, we ran all over these guys. The whole game.
The whole game. And then for some reason, they would just decide to pass or throw a trick play. And nowadays, you would just be giving it to Dorsett and you just be like, go ahead.
Do Tony Dorsett things. Make
Yes,
people
do
in your
Tony
hometown
Dorsett
hate you.
things.
So they're 1st and 10 at the Pittsburgh 17. It eventually leads to a 3rd and 3 at the Pittsburgh 10. And Dallas calls the perfect play in this situation. They had just had, I believe he was a 15-year veteran in the NFL, future Hall of Famer. I think he was the first tight end ever inducted into the Hall of Fame, Jackie Smith.
Nice.
He was ring chasing. And
Yes.
what better way to do it than with the Cowboys? Oh, boy. It was a busted coverage. The Steelers called the completely wrong defense in that scenario. Staubach pump faked. I forget if it was Dorsett, but one of the backs had a really good block on one of the blitzing players. Jackie Smith is standing alone in the end zone.
Like
by himself.
10 yards by himself. It's crazy.
And Staubach it wasn't the best pass.
No, but
that is an extremely catchable ball. He slides, kind of slips, and the ball hits him right in the numbers. And have you ever heard the Vern Lundquist call for it?
no.
Because he was the Cowboy, before he got CBS, he was the Cowboys play-by-play guy. He was like, God bless his heart, he's got to be the sickest man in America. I would say the only thing that's better than that from Vern Lundquist is who the fuck is Happy Gilmore?
Oh, yeah. That's so good.
So Dallas,
Dallas has to.
they have to go for a field goal, so
Yeah.
they send out Raphael Septien for a 27-yarder, and with 2:41 to go in the third quarter, it's a 21-17 game.
So it's still a great game.
It's still a great game, but you're just like, oh,
They should.
God.
It should be 21-21.
Oh man, it's like, hi, I'm Chuck Noll. I'm looking for Chuck Noll and a clean pair of shorts. So the Steelers get one first down on their ensuing drive, 12-yard pass to T. Bell, who went to the U of A. He was the third receiver on those.
Nice.
In the late 80s or late 70s, early
Yeah.
80s. They have to punt with 27 seconds left in the third quarter. Dallas gets a 13-yard catch and run for Dorsett, but that's their only first down on this ensuing drive. Steelers get the ball back with 12:20 left in the fourth quarter at their own 15, and they start driving the ball, and now we start seeing a lot of controversy.
I was just going to say, these penalties nowadays would be called without a doubt. Back then, I feel like they're not. It's you say
Okay.
because they're so. I don't know.
So when they begin the drive, they have a third, in their first series, they're at a 3rd and 8, and there's a big pass to Grossman for a first down. Swan gets him another 13, and with 10-12 to go, Harris runs for 5 yards. And then they call a pass play to Swan. Mm-hmm. It's a bomb, the typical Bradshaw to Swan bomb. Benny Barnes, the Dallas cornerback, has pretty good coverage on him. As they're running, mind you, Barnes is not like out of the play. He's trying to make a play running stride for stride with Swan.
Yep.
They get their legs tangled up between them as they're both kind of making a play on the ball. Bradshaw didn't throw a particularly great ball on this play. And they're much like our the Redskins 49ers episode, the refs decide to step in this situation. Honestly, it should have been called incidental contact. If they had the advantage of replay.
But if you see it just on, like, I'm just saying, if you see it just as it's happening, it does look like maybe pass interference.
Yes.
That was my thought when I first saw it, and then I saw it again, and I was like, oh no, that's 2 guys going for the ball.
Yeah.
But
and it wasn't even really catchable because it wasn't.
It's not. It's
pass.
not. That's probably my thing. Is like it's not catchable, but it is. It's a little rough for Dallas.
And it's a spot foul, so they get 33 yards. And Pittsburgh they get down to the Dallas 22, and they have a 3rd and long situation coming up. On the previous play, Harris got stuffed by Hollywood Henderson, who was talking mad shit.
Love him.
Because that's what Peruvian marching powder has you do sometimes. He was pissed when he came out. Franco wasn't a guy who showed like a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
He was angry. And he had always said, well, we're the Pittsburgh Steelers. We come out trapping off the bus. So they call a trap play, and it works to perfection from the Dallas 22. Harris not only gets the first down, he scores a touchdown. I don't even know if he was touched on that play.
No, because it really, like you said, it was like the perfect play call where it was like they just like couldn't stop or really even like prevent anything that the Steelers were doing right there to make it 28, 17, and you're like, ooh, this might be like over.
So I don't know if you saw anything associated with this play, but the Steelers players will joke about that where they said, everybody lined up for us right, including the referee. On that play, the umpire blocked, I forget if it was Cliff Harris or Charlie Waters, basically screened him, not on purpose, but just where he was standing, that he couldn't take the correct angle, and he just ran by him.
Yep.
So we get to 28-17 with 7:47 left in the fourth quarter, and special teams means special times, bro. So Roy Jarella comes up to kick the ball off, and he slips.
Yep.
It's an unintentional squib kick, but man, was it good. Because it goes to Randy White, who has a cast on his hand. Randy White has a cast on his hand. Tony Dungy hits him. The ball comes out. Dirt Winston recovers it at the Dallas 18-yard line.
I didn't know it was Dungy that hit him.
I think it was Dungy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was their backup. He'd be playing special teams.
Yeah.
Like, that's, yeah.
I want to say that it was him. So they have the ball at the Dallas 18, and at that point, there's blood in the water.
Yep.
First play call. This is one of the iconic NFL Films catches. Bradshaw just hits Swan on this ridiculously acrobatic catch in the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
First play off the drive, it's 35-17 with just over 6.5 minutes left, and you're thinking, this game's over, right?
And my big thing is you're like, what the hell just happened? You know what I mean?
Man, it was an avalanche.
Because it went from it should be 21-21 to literally Pittsburgh's like, no. We're just going to run this up right now. And, I mean, it's great. 35 cents. It's crazy.
We're like, okay, instead of being tied, we're down 18. How the hell did that happen?
Yes, exactly.
In a matter of, what?
8 minutes, maybe? No, because it went from that was at the end of the third.
Yeah.
God.
So basically like 10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes.
10 minutes of play. But I will give Dallas credit.
They come back.
They did not quit.
Yes.
They did not quit in this. The problem was the clock was just
against them.
It was just working against them.
Yep.
They start their next possession at their own 11, and Roger Staubach, they go 89 yards in 8 plays.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily for the Steelers, after Billy Joe Dupree catches a 7-yard touchdown, there's less than 3 minutes to go. What they did was play prevent on these next 2 drives.
Yes.
Not saying they were letting them score, but they were more or less like,
you're not going to bomb it, and you're not going to score in a minute, essentially.
Like you're gonna earn these touchdowns.
Yes, but you're going to kill the clock.
Exactly. Dallas, though, Dennis Thurman recovers the onside kick from Septien. So they start at their own 48. Pearson has 2 huge catches, and with 26 seconds left, it's 3rd and 1 at the Pittsburgh 4. Staubach finds Butch Johnson in the end zone. It's 35-31. And you're like, we all remember 75 at Metropolitan Stadium with the Hail Mary.
Mm-hmm.
They're an onside kick away of actually having a chance to do this.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Well, then you go back to the touchdown pass that was dropped, and you're like,
oh, yeah.
Oh, wow, that really was the piece of this game that you're like, that's where we lost it.
I remember when I was little, I looked at the box score of this game, and I said, man, they kicked a field goal. That's why there's 4 points missing.
Yep.
America's team, my ass. I just hate those Dallas Cowboys. Septien has another onside kick, but Rocky Bleier gets it.
Yep.
And at that point,
it's
you
over.
kneel it. It's 35-31. The Steelers win their 3rd Super Bowl. They're now the team of the 70s. Terry Bradshaw is the MVP of this game. It was his only 300-yard passing game in his career.
Yep. And then what was his quote at the end? Which is might have been.
You say it. It's so good.
He goes, I don't know if I can spell cat, but I sure as hell can spell MVP.
Oh.
Which Hollywood must, especially because Henderson had a great game. Like,
he was a great player.
Yes.
Very LT-like.
But
I'm thinking just thinking about stealing Hollywood's Cadillac over there.
Thinking about stealing his car. I don't know.
But so after this game, it's kind of a narrative shift in the NFL where, everyone, America's team, you didn't even win the most Super Bowls in your own decade.
Yep.
This cements Pittsburgh as the team of the 70s. The following year, not only do they repeat in Super Bowl XIV, they played Dallas at Three Rivers.
And crushed them.
L.C. Greenwood concussed Roger Staubach so bad, he retired after 79.
Damn.
Yeah.
Because they beat him like 14-3. And I was reading that, and they were like, and Staubach went out in the second quarter, and you're just like, oh, damn.
He never, he played the rest of the year, but
yeah.
he never came back, and that's when they started losing NFC championships and then having to be so shitty to trade Herschel Walker.
Yep.
So, this was a very dark time for the Dallas Cowboys.
For America.
America. I don't know if you saw anything about the betting lines in this game.
Was it Pittsburgh was like at a -3 or something, or no?
So it started at Pittsburgh at minus 3.5.
3.5.
Then it went to 4.5, and it settled at Pittsburgh at 4. Vegas calls this Black Sunday because they won by 4 points.
Yep.
So
Pretty perfect.
and when you think about it, in the history of the Super Bowl, really the only close game that had been played up to that point was the first Pittsburgh Dallas Super Bowl. This was like the first of it being like two best teams are in it and they're playing like the two best teams. Like it was, I think Gil Brandt, he was the Cowboys general manager from like the time the team started until Landry left, when Jerry Jones just fired everyone.
Yeah.
He had said this was the best Super Bowl he ever saw. Even though they lost, he was
Yeah.
like, this is the best game because of all of the players, all of the hype, all of just everything. I mean, Chuck Noll and Tom Landry, that's 6 Super Bowl wins right there? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous. So we thought we'd do a Super Bowl, it's over 40 years old now. But this is what kind of kicks off the awesomeness of it. So,
And that was our block with football playoffs. I like to say,
Football,
I keep thinking NFL, but we had so many non-NFL in this one. So, yeah, that was a great block.
hell yes. Thanks, everybody.